Hi there, welcome back to Stitch by Emma. I'm Emma, and today I want to talk about my crochet knitting icks while we knit up this cute little skirt that looks like absolutely nothing right now. Now, if you clicked on this because you wanted to see me like bash on different styles and creators and talk about what pieces I think are hideous, you've come to the wrong place. I'm not really here to talk about actual things in crochet that I dislike, things that I don't love the appeal of. I kind of want to talk about more so things in general, things in the community, things that don't always like sit right with me. So if you're into that, stick around, we can chat, we can hang out. I've got my handy little overpriced notebook here where I wrote down all of my notes about this. I made a TikTok about this the other day, but I didn't really go in depth. It was rapid fire. So I'm gonna elaborate a little bit more today on my thoughts about this. So if you're ready, I'm ready too. My first ick is people who are rude to their pattern testers. Now this is something that I have seen coming up more and more and more. And I am not a fan of the craft snark Reddit. I actually think the craft snark Reddit like sucks most of the time. A lot of the people on there are so mean for no reason. However, I do think it's useful when people can highlight and show things that like pattern designers have done to their testers that make you go like, oh, that sucks. Like, that is not right. I've been doing pattern tests for a while now, and the more and more that I hold them, the more people seem like afraid to tell me that they can't finish, or they feel afraid to like give me feedback about something. I'm like, no. Like, please give me feedback, please help. If somebody can't finish, like, it's okay. But then I see people like leaking these messages that designers have sent them about like, you know, these stipulations and these rules and regulations that they're placing on them. And it's like, this is volunteer work. Like, these are people who are like taking time out of their lives to help you with something, and you're being so nasty to them. And this is kind of a 2-in-1, I guess, but like the crazy requirements that I see like pattern testers posting. I saw somebody say that if you test for them, you have to be willing to then buy the pattern at half price. You can leave a good review. Y'all, what are we doing? Like, that is fucking insanity. And this all kind of bundles into being rude to testers, because it's like to ask them to test for you and to then pay you for it. Oh my god, that's insane. To say I'm only gonna give you 3 to 4 weeks to complete this, what the hell, guys? Like, what are we doing? Like, as somebody whose main source of income is from patterns, your pattern is not the center of that other person's world. And if they have things come up that means that they cannot complete the test, like a health issue or a family emergency or school or work or literally anything, you have to just be kind and accept that and say thank you so much for like being willing to help me. I appreciate you, and if you ever choose to finish, like, I would love to see it. I feel like there is no other appropriate way to handle that situation. And it's so unbelievably bizarre to me that I'm seeing so many people treat people with such like utter disrespect. I think honestly, that's one of my biggest icks. I think that's the lowest you can stoop as a designer, to be so rude to people who are so kindly willing to help you. Personally, I'm eternally grateful to everybody who's ever tested one of my patterns. Y'all are the fucking best. I can't say thank you enough. Like, truly. Moving on, because I wanted to get my biggest one first and out of the way. I hate people who give unsolicited advice on other people's posts. And I'm also gonna do kind of a 2-in-1 with this one, which is like being rude to beginners. Now, if somebody posts something and they're like, here's an issue that I'm having, does anybody have any advice as to how you think I should fix this? You were given permission to kind of be like, I think you could change this, here's something you could do if they ask. If they ask. This happens to me sometimes where I will put a very specific design element into something, or I see people just like do something that's a little more unconventional. The comments are filled with, well, what if you change blah, 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 blah. Well, what if you did this and this and this instead? Nuh-uh, it's done. It's done. Their piece is done. If they ask for input or advice for how to change or improve, then sure, go for it. But the unsolicitedness of it, it's gross, it's weird. I posted pieces before where they were like completely done and I loved it, and people were like, I really like this, but I actually hate this part of it and I would never wear something like that. And I'm like, well, girl, good thing you don't have to wear it. Like, I don't know, I made it for myself. You do not have to do this at all. It wasn't even something I was writing a pattern for, where like, you know, that would affect you if you were trying to make it for yourself. It was literally just like a one-off piece that I made, and they were like, I really don't like that part though, and I would never wear that. Okay. I don't give a fuck. It's not your piece. And I'm looping it in with being rude to beginners because I feel like this is something that's a lot more common with people who are starting. And again, if beginners ask for help, please feel free to help them. But if somebody is like just starting off and they're like, I made this piece and I'm so proud of it, I'm new to this, but like I'm excited, and you're like, that's so nice, honey, but you did this and this and this wrong, and I can see where you messed up that stitch, and you should probably do this, you should probably, nuh-uh. You say good job. You say good job, it looks lovely, I can't wait to see what you do next. Like, oh my god, y'all are so mean for no reason. for no reason. And just to kind of like piggyback off of that, not to sound corporate, but superiority complexes when it comes to like the kind of yarn you use, or the techniques that you use, or the patterns that you use or don't use, or whether you swatch or not, you know? I feel like the yarn superiority complex is one of the biggest ones, absolutely, where people are like, well, I only use the finest of mohair silk imported directly from whatever. And it's like, okay, I don't really care. Like, that's awesome, I want that. Give it to me. But like honestly, nobody cares that you only use the finest of silks. The reason that I'm piggybacking off the beginner one with this is a lot of beginners usually use yarn that, you know, is acrylic or worsted or just like the basic stuff that you'd begin with because they're beginners. When I was a beginner, I had people in my comments left and right being like, well, you really shouldn't use that right now. You should probably switch to using like a 100% cotton, and you probably should be using something else if you want your stuff to look better. And I'm like, I just started. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I was also 20 years old, in college, completely broke, like just began. I had like 15 books to my name. I went out and I bought some yarn with it, and I immediately had people being like, you can't use that, you need to use something else. No, I have nothing else to use. And now I use nicer stuff and I love it. I would never go into somebody's comments and unsolicitedly tell them like, by the way, you should be using a different yarn. I think this would look so much better if you use a different yarn. Whatever. That's a big ick of mine, for sure. This one I think everybody should agree with, no matter what. AI in crochet, in any form. This stupid AI generated photos of things that don't even look crocheted, that are like fooling the elderly into thinking they're crocheted. Any AI generated crochet patterns, any of that. All of it, huge ick. And the people who defend it, you guys are big icks to me. I'm so sorry. AI has no place in art. AI has no place in fiber arts. AI has no place in crochet. I talked about this on this channel a long time ago, but people were telling me that they like liked my pieces, but they didn't want to like try and do it on their own, or they didn't want to buy a pattern, so they were gonna ask ChatGPT to do it for them. And I was like, number one, ew. Number two, why are you telling me? Why are you telling me that you're going to train AI to try and tell people how to recreate my design? You suck. That one was short and sweet. Not too much I have to say about that. I think we all agree. And if you don't agree, get out of here. It's a big ick for me when people rip just incessantly on a certain style that's trending, or certain things that a lot of creators are currently doing, just really going in on stuff. Usually it's easy to tell who you're talking about, and I think that lacks class, that lacks decorum. And again, a lot of times it's usually like really targets beginners. I don't think that there's anything wrong with saying that a specific style is not for you. It's all in the way that people word it. If you were to talk about things that you don't personally like about crochet and knitting, and you say, I'm not a big fan of variegated yarns, I don't like variegated yarns, then which does not apply to me. I actually really like variegated yarns a lot of the time, and I think there's lots of ways to make them look lovely. But if you say that, I take no issue with that. You're allowed to like what you like, you're allowed to not like certain styles. There's plenty of different yarns and styles of yarn, styles of crochet that I don't love, that I'm not the biggest fan of. It's one thing to say that you're not a big fan of it. It's another to be like, I hate variegated yarns, and everything ever made with a variegated yarn looks ugly. And if you've made something with this, it probably looks hideous. Like, okay, come on, because we know. And it's like, okay, there are so many fiber artists who are making beautiful things with variegated yarns, and when you word it like that, I don't know, I just think it's kind of mean. I think it's kind of mean. I see this a lot with the way that people talk about amigurumi as well, which is not really my thing. I don't really have a desire to make them usually, but instead of people being like, yeah, no, that's not really my thing, they get on here and they're like, if you make this, you're a piece of garbage, and they're all hideous, and you're wasting your time, and you're wasting your money, and it's like, okay, chill out. A lot of people really enjoy making amigurumi. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right, because I was pronouncing it wrong for the longest time, and I think that that's the right way to say it. If I'm wrong, just tell me. I'm so sorry. But a lot of people really enjoy making that, and I think it's so strange to just like, you know, unpromptedly come at them like that. If you don't like something, if you don't like a certain style, that's totally fine. Where I get the ick is when people make full videos talking about how every single thing made in that style is hideous, and how everybody who does it is like dumb or lesser for something. Take a deep breath, get off your high horse, and just like continue creating. Create the way that you want to. Like, it's okay. This is my last one. I saved it for last because I think it might be a little bit controversial, and because we're at the end now, people may have clicked off, so like we've narrowed it down. Okay, for this one, I feel like we need a little bit of like explanation. So we're gonna split this into two categories, okay? There's famous crochet designs that blow up and famous designs that already exist. So when a famous crochet or knit design blows up, like that Taylor Swift dress that was like everywhere a while ago, or like the Wednesday Addams vest, something like that, or there's like a really famous just design, a silhouette that's currently trending, or an iconic piece that's in like a movie or a TV show that isn't crochet or knit, but somebody adapts into being that way. My ick is when people will recreate these things, not the recreation. I don't mind that. I think that's actually kind of awesome. My ick is when people will recreate these things, but then say, don't steal my design, don't copy me, don't recreate this. Because y'all, you already did the copying. And I think that's okay. In fact, my even more controversial take is I think it's actually not an issue to do that at all. I don't even think it's bad if you're like writing a pattern for it. In a sense. I don't think it's even bad if multiple people write a pattern for it, because like a pattern doesn't already exist. You're doing your own interpretation of how you would do it, you know, it's probably a little bit different anyway. And I feel that way even more so for like the things that like are adapted from something that's not crochet or knit and it's just like inspired by it in a way. Maybe a little more of a slippery slope when it comes to like famous crochet items and stuff. But hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. Where it's like I bet a million other people already had like the exact picture that you worked off of in their like creative inspo board, on their Pinterest boards, like ready to go, ready to make it. And then somebody beats them to it and posts it, and then they're like, this is my design, don't steal it. But like, it's not. That one's not your design. But this very quickly leads into like that whole slippery slope of like people claiming copying for having something that is just like one similar element or a similar silhouette that's like the most basic simple silhouette you can possibly think of. I feel like people very much want to feel like a sense of like ownership over their designs, which is totally like natural and normal and fine. But I also feel a little bit like when they make an exact recreation of like a trending piece and then say like, do not copy me. Like, girl, you did the copying. And that's totally okay that you did the copying. You are totally allowed. We have free will. You can't copyright the copy. It's fair game for anybody to do that at that point. It's fair game for y'all to write multiple patterns for it. It comes back to the conversation talking point that happens every time there's like a did she steal this pattern discussion and debate, which is always like exhausting. Where it's like, if you thought of that, then like a whole bunch of other people probably thought of it as well. Especially if you're all being fed like the same inspiration online. Y'all probably watch the same TV shows, you listen to the same music, you follow the same creators, you see the same like dresses randomly like start trending. My comparison in my head right now is it would be like if like 500 girls who like to sew all watched Sex and the City at the same time, and then all of them decided that they wanted to recreate the newspaper dress, and then all of them accused each other of copying each other. Like, you all saw that newspaper dress, you all wanted it for yourself, you all wanted to make it. Like, power to you for doing it. And this is solely hypothetical. I'm not holding 500 women hostage in my apartment and forcing them to watch Sex and the City and recreate the newspaper dress. I don't know why I feel the need to clarify that, but people have a mind of their own on here. Like, you have every right to do that, but you also don't have a right to tell other people that they can't. Because in terms of other artists who are watching and consuming the same content as you in like all forms, that's probably like the most common thing that's going to happen, is y'all are gonna have the same idea and act on it, and it's kind of become a race of who can do it first and then claim that they thought of it first, when in reality everybody probably thought of it at the same exact time. Took some people a little bit longer to work on it. And like I said earlier, this applies to me when it comes to like basic silhouettes for stuff too, or silhouettes that are currently like trending. There are different things that like trend at the same time, like maybe like a droopy cowl neck, or like a low back, or like a one shoulder thing, or an off the shoulder. Off the shoulder was like huge 2 winters ago. Not that it isn't still huge now, but I feel like it made a comeback in a way that like that style hasn't in a while. And I saw a lot of people like claiming like, oh my gosh, she's copying, she's also making an off the shoulder sweater pattern. Everyone was making an off the shoulder pattern. And good on them for noticing the trend and jumping on it. And nobody can claim they created the off the shoulder sweater. Like, hello. This has happened to me with a couple of my patterns before, where I've made something, it's unique to me in the way that I wrote the pattern and the way that like, you know, it's my interpretation of a famous silhouette or style. And then people would send me patterns that people were writing, or pieces that people were making like shortly after I released the pattern or shortly after I posted the piece, and they were like, she's copying you, and I'm like, well, honestly, she has like every right to do so. I didn't invent that specific kind of like skirt or coat or top or anything. I just made my own interpretation of it, as they did as well. Unless they were taking my pattern directly and downloading it and reselling a copy of it, then that's copying, then that's stealing, but that's a whole other discussion. And I don't think that's very common, but if you do that, you probably suck. I wanted to save that one for last because I felt like I had the most to say about it, and I feel like it's the most controversial. And the discussion becomes the most annoying too, I feel like, because it happens over and over and over again about like claiming copying. And I think to sum it up in like a more concise way, the whole overall ick is the whole like claiming copy wars that come up all the time. Because like 98% of the time, it's just people who had a similar idea at the same time, executed it in different ways, and it just happened to line up. I think my opposite of the ick, my crochet yum surrounding that, is people who like handle that really well. They'll talk about it and be like, yeah, me and this other girl, you know, we had a similar idea and it's no biggie. I feel like that just shows a lot of maturity and like confidence in your design too. I just want us all to get along. Those are my crochet and knitting icks. I think as a community, we should just try to like be nice to each other, uplift each other's designs, uplift each other's work, encourage beginners, be kind to our pattern testers, to stop this inherent competition. Yeah. I don't know, this was kind of cathartic. Maybe it was for you too. I hope so. If you like to crochet, I have some patterns available. I have a new one coming out on Friday, May 30th called the Dolly Top. She's a cutie, so if you're looking for a summer top, maybe you want to check her out. All patterns are on my Etsy and my website, and if you look on my website, I also have some crochet pieces that I'm selling, and I'm hoping to replenish that very soon with some fun new pieces for the summer. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again soon. Bye.